Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Bold and Beautiful. Today she used fake MRI results and poison pills. Finn and Bridget uncover Grace's filthy swindle. Was Grace trying to keep scam exposure at bay when Bridget was kidnapped? The future of Bridget Forrester may involve an abduction problem. Would Grace Buckingham try in a panic to hide the information about her scam? Grace is obviously concerned about her colleague discovering how she deceived Liam Spencer, Bill Spencer, and their closest associates, since she can tell that Bridget is growing suspicious. Although everyone has been rejoicing over Liam's tumor cure, Grace allegedly misrepresented Liam's inoperable brain mass. It appears that Grace fabricated the scans before devising this fictitious scientific process in order to obtain Bill's $1 million. In the upcoming episodes, Finn Finnegan will delve for answers, but what about Bridget? The show's inclusion of both doctors in this plot must have a purpose. Finn is likely to reveal Grace's scam in the end because, as we all know, B&B can't help but let him play the hero. Liam, Bill, and Steffi Forrester will probably get updates on the tumor fake-out news from Finn. Grace, though, can still be crucial to the outcome. What if Bridget investigates the scam on her own and discovers it first? Things might rapidly become dangerous if Bridget confronts Grace about the fake tumor and treatment. Because of the pressure she's under, she seems to have had someone threaten her over debts. Grace is beginning to lose her mind. Grace is on a downward spiral because we've seen her almost hyperventilating at her office. Grace might decide to take drastic measures to quiet Bridget as a result. It is conceivable that Grace would abduct Bridget in order to silence her, at least until she can decide what to do next. But Grace might just knock Bridget unconscious and run. Maybe Grace should try to leave town before the police show up at her house. Bridget might have fallen for Grace's ruse by the time Finn discovers it. Grace might lose her mind and put Bridget in risk, regardless of whether she is a hostage or just is attacked. Dr. Grace Buckingham, whose audacious medical scam, fabricating Liam Spencer's inoperable brain tumor and orchestrating a fake experimental cure to swindle Bill Spencer out of $1 million, is teetering on the brink of catastrophic exposure. While the heroic Dr. Finn Finnegan diligently pursues the scientific truth, the narrative spotlight intriguingly also falls on Dr. Bridget Forrester, Liam's steadfast physician and stepsister. This dual focus on medical professionals within the storyline isn't mere coincidence. It whispers of a darker, more visceral threat looming specifically for Bridget. Grace Buckingham, unraveling under the crushing weight of her deceit and external pressures, could very well see Bridget not just as a colleague asking inconvenient questions, but as the single most dangerous obstacle to her freedom, potentially driving her to the unthinkable, kidnapping Bridget to forcibly silence the truth. Grace's precarious mental state is the fertile ground where this terrifying possibility takes root. We've witnessed her near-paralyzing anxiety, the frantic hyperventilation in her office, the haunted look in her eyes, the palpable dread radiating off her. This isn't just guilt, it's the corrosive fear of imminent ruin. Her scam was breathtakingly brazen, exploiting the deepest vulnerabilities of a family already fractured by betrayal. The consequences of exposure aren't merely professional disgrace, they spell financial devastation, especially hinted at by her shadowy debt threats, and likely criminal prosecution. Every moment Bridget remains suspicious, asking probing questions about Liam's miraculous recovery or the unusual specifics of the procedure, is a moment Grace feels the walls closing in. Bridget isn't just a doctor, she's Liam's family, deeply invested, ethically unwavering, and positioned with unique access and insight. For Grace, Bridget represents the most direct, personal line to exposure, far more immediate than Finn's methodical lab work. While Finn might uncover the falsified data, Bridget could piece together Grace's behavior, her inconsistencies, the logistical holes in her story, the human element of the fraud. This proximity makes Bridget uniquely threatening. Imagine the critical juncture. Bridget, driven by professional duty and familial concern, digs deeper. Perhaps she re-examines Liam's initial scans, noticing anomalies dismissed before. Maybe she questions the lack of standard follow-up protocols or investigates the phantom clinic where the procedure supposedly occurred. Or, crucially, she confronts Grace directly, voicing her well-founded doubts. Grace, these scans don't add up. The recovery timeline defies every known medical parameter for that type of tumor. There's no record of this experimental trial. In that moment, the fragile dam holding back Grace's panic shatters. She sees not just exposure, but the end of everything. It's in this crucible of terror that rational thought evaporates, replaced by the primal instinct for survival. Silencing Bridget becomes paramount, not through persuasion or further lies, too risky, too late, but through immediate, brutal removal. A desperate, panicked kidnapping isn't a calculated masterstroke, it's the flailing act of a cornered animal. Grace might lure Bridget under a pretext, reviewing a critical patient file, an urgent consultation in a secluded office, or even a late-night call to a deserted part of the hospital. Or, in a moment of confrontation spiraling out of control, Grace might seize a desperate opportunity, striking Bridget unconscious in a fit of panic and then realizing she must hide the evidence of her outburst, leading to an improvised abduction. The consequences of such an act would be seismic, far exceeding the already massive fallout of the scam's exposure. Bridget Forrester isn't just any character, she's a legacy figure, a Forrester by blood and marriage, Ridge's daughter, Brooke's child, Steffi's sister-in-law, and Liam's trusted doctor and stepsister. Her disappearance or clear victimization would ignite a firestorm. Finn's investigation would immediately pivot from fraud to a frantic search for a missing colleague and friend, amplifying the urgency exponentially. The Forresters and Spencers, already reeling from the emotional whiplash of Liam's fake illness, would be plunged into a new, visceral nightmare. Ridge and Brooke would mobilize every resource. Steffi and Liam would be consumed with guilt and fury. Bill, already enraged by being duped, would see Grace's act as a personal war declaration. The hunt wouldn't just be about justice for the scam, it would be a crusade to save Bridget. For Grace, kidnapping Bridget wouldn't buy safety, it would transform her from a con artist into a hunted fugitive facing exponentially more severe charges. The pressure, already unbearable, would become crushing, making her even more volatile and dangerous to her captive. Furthermore, this scenario creates a powerful narrative counterpoint to Finn's expected heroics. While Finn might ultimately be the one to scientifically prove the fraud to Liam, Bill, and Steffi, presenting the irrefutable evidence that shatters their reality, Bridget's potential peril adds a raw, human urgency that pure scientific exposition cannot match. It transforms the storyline from a cerebral mystery into a visceral race against time. Will Finn crack the case before Grace harms Bridget? Could Bridget, even while captive, find a way to expose Grace or leave a clue? The drama shifts from how will the scam be uncovered, to can Bridget survive the fallout of uncovering it first? Grace's potential kidnapping attempt is the dark, logical extension of her escalating desperation. It exploits the unique threat Bridget poses, her proximity, her ethics, her familial ties. It leverages Grace's visible unraveling, turning her anxiety into tangible violence. And it promises a level of emotional devastation and high-stakes drama perfectly suited to the operatic nature of The Bold and the Beautiful. Bridget Forrester, the healer, could become the victim, trapped in the terrifying consequences of a lie she dared to question, while Grace Buckingham, the healer turned predator, descends fully into the abyss her own greed and fear created. The shadow isn't just over Grace's scam anymore, it stretches, long and menacing, directly over Bridget Forrester herself. Liam disappears, Steffi becomes unglued, and she demands answers. When Liam Spencer is AWOL and Steffi Forrester visits him at the hospital, she will go crazy. Nobody on the unit is aware of his fate. Steffi has supported Liam ever since the whole incident involving Luna Nozawa. He was a dead man anyway, Liam said, taking a bullet for Steffi. It was clear that he was talking about his dying brain tumor. Liam was given only a few months to live by Dr. Grace Buckingham. Grace was under pressure from Bill Spencer to save his son's life. No matter how much money it cost, he said, his son had to live. That's exactly what she did. Steffi is now seeking explanations for Liam's relocation to a hidden location. Unglued, Steffi Forrester. According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Steffi is demanding answers regarding Liam. She tells Bill that he will let her know Liam's location. She is eager to see him right away. Steffi is concerned about Liam's safety and proper recuperation. In an attempt to calm Steffi, Bill says he will take her to meet Liam soon. Steffi won't wait for Liam to arrive. She suspects that Bill is planning a sinister plot with Grace, therefore she wants to meet him right away. Hope Logan is filled with Steffi Forrester. According to teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Steffi gets in touch with Hope Logan to tell her more about Liam's disappearance. She won't give Hope the address, but she'll probably tell her that Bill transferred Liam to a hidden place. Hope will be alarmed by this, as she is concerned about Liam's condition. Not too long ago, Liam was battling for his life after being shot by Luna Nozawa for rushing into the beach home to defend Steffi. In order to protect Liam, Hope is adamant about finding him. Steffi and Hope don't believe Bill will protect Liam. It is difficult for them to trust him because of his lengthy history of poor choices. Bill will keep trying to hide Liam's whereabouts, but Steffi and Hope will quickly track him down. To see how it all turns out, keep watching the CBS soap drama. Steffi Forrester stood frozen in the doorway of Liam Spencer's empty room. Her heart, already battered by the recent cascade of traumas, the violent confrontation at the beach house, the deafening crack of Luna Nozawa's gun, Liam's body crumpling against hers in a desperate, self-sacrificial shield, the terrifying hours clinging to the fragile hope he'd survive the bullet meant for her, now plummeted into a chilling abyss. The bed was stripped, impersonal, devoid of the man whose survival had become her singular, desperate focus since the moment he'd gasped those haunting, fatalistic words, "I was a dead man anyway." Words referencing the terminal sentence Dr. Grace Buckingham had delivered, a malignant brain tumor stealing his future, leaving only agonizing months. But he had survived the gunshot, defying immediate death only to vanish into thin air. Frantic eyes scanned the room, finding no trace, no clue, only a void where Liam should be recovering, should be fighting the invisible enemy within his skull. Whirling, her voice cracking with escalating hysteria, Steffi demanded answers from the passing nurse, then the orderly, then the unit clerk, met only with blank stares, confused shakes of heads, and useless platitudes. Transferred? Discharged? We weren't informed. No one told us. We don't know where Mr. Spencer is. The words hammered against her skull, each denial amplifying the terrifying silence where Liam's presence, however fragile, had been her anchor. He was gone. Vanished. And the meticulously controlled facade Steffi Forrester presented to the world shattered like cheap glass. This wasn't mere worry, it was primal terror metastasizing into incandescent rage. One face crystallized instantly in her mind, blotting out the sterile hospital white, Bill Spencer. Liam's father. The man whose ruthless ambition and suffocating control were legendary. The man who had stormed into Grace Buckingham's office, wielding not just his formidable Spencer wealth but the terrifying, unyielding force of his will, declaring money was no object, demanding she defy the terminal prognosis, demanding she save his son. And Grace, whether swayed by Bill's power, genuine medical possibility, or something darker Steffi couldn't fathom, had apparently succeeded. Liam lived. But now? This disappearance reeked of Bill's heavy-handed interference, his penchant for manipulating lives from the shadows. The thought ignited a firestorm within Steffi. Her fear for Liam's fragile state, recovering from a gunshot wound while battling a terminal illness, potentially vulnerable, confused, isolated, fused with a white-hot fury directed solely at the man she believed responsible. Bill hadn't just moved Liam, he'd severed Steffi's lifeline, ripped away the man who had taken a bullet proclaiming his love for her, the man whose remaining time, however brief, she had vowed to cherish. This wasn't protection, it felt like theft, like a cruel assertion of ownership over a life Bill had nearly destroyed countless times before. The calm, resilient Steffi who had endured the shooting, the vigil, the diagnosis, was gone. In her place stood a woman unglued, her emotions raw and exposed, driven by a desperate need to reclaim what was hers. Storming into Spencer Publications wasn't an arrival, it was an assault. Steffi bypassed assistance, ignored protocol, her heels striking the marble floor like gunshots echoing her racing heart. She didn't request entry to Bill's inner sanctum, she claimed it, bursting through the imposing doors with a force that made the heavy wood shudder. Bill, predictably ensconced behind his massive desk, a symbol of his dominion, looked up, an expression of carefully constructed surprise masking whatever calculation lay beneath. The sight of him, so composed, so in control, while Liam was God knows where and what condition, detonated the last vestiges of Steffi's restraint. "Where is he, Bill?" The demand wasn't shouted, it was a guttural roar ripped from the core of her being, vibrating with fury and barely contained panic. Her eyes, wide and blazing, locked onto his, refusing any evasion. "Where is Liam? What have you done with him?" She advanced, not as the poised CEO of Forrester Creations, but as a lioness defending her wounded mate, her posture radiating a dangerous intensity. "You moved him. You took him from the hospital where he was safe, where he was being cared for, and you hid him like some possession. Tell me where he is. Right now." Her voice dropped to a low, vibrating hiss, every syllable dripping with venomous intent. "You will tell me. You will take me to him. Immediately." Bill, ever the master manipulator, attempted his usual deflection. He rose, palms outstretched in a placating gesture that only stoked Steffi's fury. "Steffi, calm down. You're hysterical. Liam is safe. He's getting the best possible care, exactly what he needs right now." His voice was smooth, practiced, the voice he used to soothe shareholders or pacify enemies. "I understand you're upset, but this move was necessary. For his recovery. For his privacy. Grace agrees this specialized environment is crucial." He took a tentative step towards her. "Just be patient. I'll take you to see him soon, when he's stronger, when it's appropriate." The word soon hung in the air like a taunt. Appropriate? As if Steffi, the woman Liam had nearly died protecting, needed Bill Spencer to dictate when it was appropriate for her to see the man she loved. His patronizing tone, the implication that she was an irrational complication rather than Liam's lifeline, ignited a fresh wave of fury. "Soon?" Steffi spat the word back at him, her laugh sharp and humorless. "Patient? Are you insane? Liam took a bullet for me, Bill. He has a tumor. He needs people who love him, not to be locked away in some gilded cage you've constructed." Her gaze narrowed, piercing through his facade. "And don't you dare hide behind Grace Buckingham. What scheme are you two cooking up now? What shady deal did you make to get her to save him? What strings are attached to Liam's life this time?" The suspicion was visceral. Bill Spencer's history was a tapestry woven with bad decisions, betrayals, and reckless gambles with the lives of those closest to him, especially Liam's. Trusting him with Liam's fragile existence felt like entrusting a priceless vase to a bull. "You have a history, Bill. A long, ugly history of making catastrophic choices that hurt Liam. You don't get to play guardian angel now and expect blind faith. Not from me. Tell me where he is. Now. Or so help me." She didn't finish the threat, but the dangerous glint in her eyes, the tremor of pure, unleashed emotion in her frame, made the unspoken consequences chillingly clear. The confrontation crackled with barely contained violence, Steffi's raw, unprocessed trauma and desperate love colliding head-on with Bill's ingrained control and potentially dangerous paternal obsession. Knowing Bill's stonewalling could last indefinitely, recognizing the futility of facing his fortress alone, Steffi did the once unthinkable. She reached for an unlikely ally forged in shared desperation. With trembling fingers, she pulled out her phone, dialing Hope Logan. The animosity, the years of rivalry over Liam's heart, momentarily dissolved in the acid bath of their shared terror. "Hope? It's Steffi." Her voice, still ragged from the confrontation with Bill, carried an urgency that brooked no small talk. "Liam, he's gone. From the hospital. Vanished." She quickly relayed the chilling scene, the empty room, the clueless staff, her immediate conviction of Bill's involvement. "Bill moved him. To some secret location. He won't tell me where, just feeds me lines about soon and specialized care and Grace Buckingham's approval." Steffi's voice cracked, the fear breaking through the fury. Hope, I don't trust him. I don't trust any of this. Liam is out there, recovering from a gunshot wound, fighting a terminal illness, and Bill has him hidden away. We need to find him. We have to find him. The we hung heavy, a fragile bridge spanning their turbulent history, built solely on the bedrock of their love for the same, dangerously vulnerable man. On the other end, Hope Logan's world tilted. The image of Liam, the father of her child, the man whose complicated heart held a permanent place in hers, fighting for his life on an operating table after rushing to save Steffi, was still horrifyingly fresh. The relief that he'd survived the bullet had been tempered by the crushing weight of Grace Buckingham's terminal diagnosis. Now, to hear he was missing, spirited away by Bill Spencer? Hope's breath hitched, a cold dread seeping into her bones. Bill's capacity for destructive, self-serving decisions was etched into her own history, the man who had orchestrated Beth's adoption deception, who had manipulated and schemed relentlessly. Trusting him with Liam's life, especially now, felt like a perilous folly. Oh my God, Steffi, Hope whispered, her own voice thick with rising panic. Bill? He moved him? Why? What is he thinking? Steffi's palpable fear was contagious. Liam needs stability, proper medical oversight, his family, not to be Bill's latest secret project. Hope's mind raced, the maternal instinct to protect Beth's father merging with her own enduring, complex love for Liam. You're right. We can't trust Bill. Not with this. Not with Liam. Not after everything. The everything encompassed years of Spencer-inflicted chaos. Hope's resolve hardened, mirroring Steffi's. We will find him, Steffi. We have to. Where do we start? The rivalry was officially suspended. The Logan and the Forrester, united by a singular, terrifying mission, locate Liam Spencer before Bill Spencer's latest intervention becomes his most catastrophic. Bill Spencer, behind his imposing desk, might believe his wealth and influence could maintain the veil of secrecy, that he could control the narrative and the access to his son. He might believe Steffi's fury would eventually burn out or that Hope would be easily placated. But he fatally underestimated the potent force he had unleashed. Steffi Forrester, pushed beyond the brink of endurance, was no longer the woman patiently waiting by a hospital bed. She was a force of nature, unglued, driven by love, guilt, and a terrifying certainty that Liam was in peril not from his illness or his wound, but from his own father's misguided, controlling actions. And now, she wasn't alone. She had Hope Logan, equally invested, equally distrustful, equally determined. Bill's secret location, however secure he believed it to be, was now the focal point of a relentless, unified hunt. The calm before the storm had passed. The storm was here, embodied in two fiercely determined women whose shared love for Liam Spencer would tear Bill Spencer's carefully constructed secrecy apart, brick by expensive brick. The answers Bill refused to give would be unearthed, and the reckoning for playing God with a life hanging so precariously in the balance would be swift and unforgiving. The hunt for Liam Spencer had begun, and nothing, not wealth, not power, not paternal arrogance, would stand in its way for long.